Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dogs and cats, elephants and zebras. So, I want to talk about forgiveness and um, redemption, things like that. I met someone via YouTube that I may have known in my teen years. We don't, neither one of us specifically remembers the other, but we sure, we sure know an awful lot of the same people, or knew an awful lot of the same people. And we were in this particular institution around the same time. Um, now, I'm going to talk about how do I say it? Um, I'm talking the people I'm talking about when it comes to forgiveness and the possibility of redemption. Not everybody will redeem themselves. Okay? They just is That's just a fact. But I was in a place called the Devereaux Foundation. I was there for 3 years, a little over 3 years. It was not fun. This person that I'm talking about was sexually abused, as was I, while we were there, but not by the same people. Um, the, the physical assaults, just there was all sorts of abuse. Okay, you just let me tell you, it will continue to affect you. The sexual abuse, the beatings, the manipulation, etc., will continue to affect you, possibly throughout your entire life. But I have forgiven them. Now, some people might think, well, okay, Seamus, you've forgiven them, then you think they're good people. No, I don't know what kind of people they are today. Um, just because I have forgiven them, because I could not continue to live with the hate that I had. I just could not keep doing that. I had to let it go. Um, and there are ways of doing that. One is you just have to realize, that it happened and you can't change it, and that's that. Um, those people, the people that did those things, that's the kind of people they were. Um, just because I've forgiven them does not mean I would trust them. If Now, let me also say, I spent literally decades in fear that one of the staff would show up at my freaking front door. Do you know what it's like to be that scared? Like that person said, it made her stronger. And yeah, it made me stronger, but I would not wish that on anyone. Not on anyone. We have people in this area right down the road in Keene who think sexual relations with children is somehow okay. And let me guarantee you it's not. Not even close. Um, and Now, if one of the staff, if I were to meet them on the street, probably wouldn't recognize them. They probably wouldn't recognize me because it's been like 30, 35 years, closer to 35 years. Um, I would not trust them. I mean, they would have to uh, prove to me that they're not like they used to be. And let me tell you, that'd be really hard to do, and it would take a long, long time. Now, there were people in that institution that were good, decent people. And frankly, they were having to deal to a large extent with the things that the rest of us had to deal with. But I had a math teacher, a PE coach, and a welding instructor. Three people. Three people out of how many? My one of my best friends from back home. He wound up going to that place. Actually, he kind of followed me. He went to one facility right after I had left. Then he went to another facility right after I had left. Then he wound up in Devereaux. While I was there, he was there a week, 1 week, and they kicked him out. Now, this is a place that would not kick you out until they could no longer make money off of you. I mean, that's what it was. It was a money thing. You know, as soon as uh, the money was cut off, you're gone. Uh, and they follow people for 6 months, which supposedly they would follow a person's progress for 6 months, which isn't long enough. But one of the kids there, I've been told, is on death row. A number of them wound up in prison. More than a few wound up in jail. Is that person actually on death row? I don't know, because I haven't been able to find any link to him. Um, but that doesn't mean he's not. It just means I haven't been able to find a link to his name. Just because I've forgiven them, and just because these things happened 35 plus years ago, doesn't mean I trust them. I mean, they showed me what kind of people they are. And frankly, at the time, and for some time after the fact, they needed to be in prison. Yes, in prison. And they needed to be, even those who did not go to prison, many of them needed to be banned from working with any sort of vulnerable population. And believe me, that wasn't done. But I mean, how can you really ban somebody from doing that, because you have so many groups that can be considered vulnerable, humans and animals alike? They definitely did not need to work with children. But there's there was this one guy, don't remember his name. He walked around with a chip on his shoulder. He was one of the other kids. And one day I was just tired of it. I'm not going to take this anymore. And my fist right up against his face. He didn't like that too much. Well, this guy, he runs around acting all tough. And what does he do? He goes down on his knees. I'm not gonna beat you when you're down like that. I was a fair fighter. I always taken pride in the fact that I was a fair fighter. You know, if you were down, I'd back off and give you time to get up. And if you wanted to keep doing it, hey, I'd come back right at you. So after you got up, and I did. But this guy, nah, he didn't. And all of a sudden, somebody screams fight, and you hear the staff running down the hallway. So I back off. You know, but as they see you fighting, you get in more trouble than they simply know you were fighting. Well, they picked this kid up, and he starts screaming and yelling and cussing and threatening me. And my jaw dropped to the floor. I'm like, I could have just killed you, and you're gonna do this? You have some problems. Well, they sent that old boy down to Anderson Division, which were the streetwise kids were. I was in Woodlands Division. That other person is also in Woodlands Division. But the staff showed me what kind of people they were, and I wouldn't trust them. You know, you can forgive someone, but just because you forgive them doesn't mean you embrace the person or like the person or anything like that. You know, these people, these staff did some very, very bad things. And, you know, there were at least 3 kids that I knew from back home that wound up there. 2 in our dorm, 1 on the other side of campus. But, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that I was the greatest kid while I was there. I wasn't. Like I said, if it came down to it, I was willing to fight. I didn't want to. As time went on, I disliked violence more and more. I disliked a lot of things more and more. When I first got sent there, I got used to the place, and I'm like, you know, this is my situation. This is my lot in life. You know, I'm going to make the best of it, so to speak. But as time went on, I got older, and I'm not putting up with this. And I didn't. You know, I went AWOL once, wound up locked door isolation for a week. Um, you know, you get a little cup of water like that with each meal, and you get food that's all spilled over into, you know, the styrofoam trays that have compartments all spilled over because the kids are swinging them around, swinging the bags around that the food comes in, and it's cold because they dish it out at the beginning of the meal. They just let it sit there, and then the kids, after they eat, they take it back to the dorms. But you know, the what really gets me is some of those staff had kids. Some of those staff had kids after the fact. Just, I sure hope they weren't. I sure hope they did not treat their children the way they treated us. Uh, you don't want me to tell you the stories. I have other videos where I talk about some of the people and some of the things that were done, and I've mentioned some things here. But you are forgiven, but I don't trust you. Right? Respect. I respect your humanity. I respect your life, but I wouldn't trust you. That's for sure. Would not trust you one iota. Little Greek lingo there. But so you can forgive, but just because you forgive does not mean you're going to like those people or trust those people or want anything to do with them. Redemption is something that I have no control over when it comes to what they did. They would have to redeem themselves. Have they? I have no idea. How long has it been since I've seen them? Decades, literally decades. So I don't know. You know, I just don't know what they may or may not have done with their lives. You know? Some of the staff I know are dead. Some of the kids are dead, sadly. You know, because some of those kids that I knew in there, they were a lot younger than I was. I mean, I was, what was I, 18 when I got out? And the only reason I got out was because I was 18 and they could not legally keep me there. And I contacted an attorney. And I wish I knew that attorney's name. I know the attorney was a female and she was running for office. That's all I remember. Thankfully, she was able to get my mother to take me home, take me back, and which I think probably took some work. But There's a reason I do not like those sorts of institutions. There's a reason I do not think most kids should be in places like that. Because I know what goes on in those places. And it's not nice. It's not nice. Now, I do have good memories, but they're not of the staff, that's for sure. And, it's important to have those good memories, to find them. It took me many, many, many years before I could reach deep down inside and find those memories and be willing to remember them and even talk about them to people. But they've been forgiven, but I don't trust them. Again, redemption is something they have to do. Um, and I'm sure there are things that I did or may have done that it's up to other people to forgive me or not forgive me. So, anyway, thank you for listening. Goodbye.